Yeah, Mr. President, members of the Common Council, we have before you the abatements to date. I'm here to answer any questions. I can tell you that of all the adjustments, of all the abatements, these are the, I spent more time on these than any other. In regards to the real estate abatements, I reviewed, let me back up a bit. These abatements go back 2 years, 2013 and 2014. I've reviewed all the material and the files that I can find. I've visited the site, been in contact with the owner and his legal representation. I've reviewed engineering reports, and I've finally come to an agreement with the owner. I can only say that the situation is put with this particular taxpayer in somewhat of an awkward position because of the magnitude of the adjustment. What I refer to is, people are limited. You can't pull permits. You're limited in things that you're allowed to do when you have outstanding taxes. And in this situation, this was a situation that was wrong. It took me a while to realize that, and I'm moving to correct it and move forward. So I'll entertain any questions you have. And I can add one other thing on the real estate. This was a result. This came out of a reevaluation prior to the reval. The land, which consists of approximately seven parcels, was valued at $857,400. After the reval, the total assessment was $5,673,800. The agreement that I reached with the property owner and his attorney is $896,900. If you look at the results of the reevaluation, in total numbers, commercial property went up slightly, below 5%. I believe that was primarily due to growth in the commercial base. Residential property went down 11%. I've reviewed this value and I feel it's a reasonable value. And I'm asking for your approval. I think the taxpayer, in light of what they've been through, what he's been through, want to move forward. And I certainly want to move forward and put this behind us.
If I may, Mr. President, I just want to thank Mr. Dolce for his thoroughness. It's taken him a while, and what he means by that is that he has left no stone unturned, no pun intended. He's met with them, he's gone out, he's walked the land, he's listened, he's looked at other properties, he's done due diligence, In addition, this taxpayer really, in our estimation, wasn't given proper information. They've been trying to resolve these issues for several years, and I think now we've found that we've got a resolution that will be good for all of us, and I think the best thing is that we can, as we used to say in the old days, just cross it off our list and move ahead. So this is one of the things that I think we can, again, hanging over the town and the black eye. So I want to thank you for this time.
Has our solicitor been involved with this as well? Or?
Yes, he has. I've shared my memo with him, and I can talk to him tonight. Any other questions you may have?
You said the taxpayer's been trying to work this out for years. Who have they been contacting that? There's a this much of an abatement and it wasn't brought to anyone else's attention?
Well, I think it was kind of lost in the black hole.
If I was overtaxed this month, I don't think it would get lost. Like, they haven't come to town hall, they haven't been,
Oh, yeah, no, they did many times.
No, I have the backup and correspondence on it. At this point, it's,
It just
I mean, I
wasn't
can
resolved.
certainly share that with you. I've reviewed it. It's numerous. The client told me that, the taxpayer told me that, his attorney told me that. But again, that's, I mean, it's great talk, but I mean, I'm interested in correcting these things, moving forward. It's in his best interest, and it's in the town's best interest.
I understand that and I appreciate all your hard work, but were you aware that we have this huge tax issue out there and nothing's been done about it
Well,
for years?
there was no one to do it. We had other issues that had to be done as well. They had, that company had come to the previous assessor's office many, many times.
Have they come to your
Looking for
office?
resolution. No.
And no one, so did you know about this?
I had heard about it when Mr. Dolce picked it up and started running with it again.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if someone is owed this kind of money and it's been going on for years, why wouldn't it get to you or anyone else that, I mean, I can't imagine that I would just go home and say, okay, someone's gonna call me, and not go knock on your door or knock on the finance director's door or anyone's door to say, someone needs to help me here.
Or
I
the
mean,
attorney knocking on the door.
This abatement went from 102,000 or 199,000 last meeting to now we're over, was it 400 and, because of two tax issues. I just can't believe that we can just say it's been going on for years, but it never got to you or anyone else other than the tax assessor.
How many years? How many years have been council?
2 years. 2 years.
2 years.
Why wouldn't
Since the
they-
last event.
2013, 2014.
So why wouldn't they even just come to the town council meeting and say, look, no one's handling my claim? I find it really,
They had legal representation.
I find it really hard that nobody knew in the administration that we had $160-something thousand sitting there for, that we owed someone.
Any more questions of Mr. Dolce?
The procedure, Mr. Dolce, does it come before a tax review board? Did this happen?
Yes, that's like all previous abatements before the council. I reviewed this, I put it on the agenda with the board of review and reviewed it with them, and they agreed to this.
Yeah, there was a meeting held and
Yes.
people showed up to discuss this.
I believe it was February 11th was the last meeting.
Minutes kept of those meetings, Mr. Dolce?
Yes.
Okay. And they haven't been approved yet, right?
No,
Okay.
no. It was the last meeting, so.
Yeah, it's kind of short term, all right, thank you.
Yeah, they're on the, again, they're on the, they file them on the Secretary of State's website, both agendas and the minutes.
Once they're
And
approved.
the minutes will be getting through to the council eventually.
Okay.
Mr. Council's pleasure to consider these abatements.
I mean, they're right, we have to approve them, right?
I move to accept.
Based on recommendation of the tax review board.
Finance director, excuse me.
Who's
making the motion?
I'll make a motion. No. Yeah, we have
started to.
Mr. Solicitor, this settlement, this item, this is in the best interest of our community?
Well, based on my discussion with the tax assessor, I rely on the fact that the previous 2 years, the property was assessed at $5 million, and all the previous years before that was in the $800,000 range. How that dramatic increase could happen absent some sort of mistake when all the properties going up at the rate of what, 5%? I don't know any piece of property absent some sort of development would have increased for that kind of value. I rely on his expertise, he'd be my expert in court. So I think it is. I don't think it's a defendable action.
Thank you. Based on what the tax review board has stated, Mr. Dolce, solicitor, chair moves that this be taken care of, that the abatement be approved.
Second motion.
That's the motion. It's just mind-boggling. I mean, how could something like this?
Up and down. And if anyone reviewed it and saw what kind of increase the tax bills have.
Of course, that also deals with the tax rate of the town and affects so many other items as well, so. Well, chair moves that the abatement be approved based on tax review board, Mr. Dolce, and our council. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'm very concerned what's going to pop up next.
I'm just, and for myself, I'm quite concerned. It's sort of like,
Are we going to have another similar industry in town? Is that question? That's their right, they can do it.
good, Mr. Dolce.
I've been here since August. I came in August. It took me 2 to 3 months to kind of get up to speed. I've written a report, and I think I believe the town administrator has shared that with you. 7 or 8 pages identifying exactly what happened, why it happened, and what needs to get done to correct it. To date, well, let me just say that, you know, it upsets me to bring these abatements to you, before you, but you know, at the end of the day, you have to do what you believe is right. I can only say that I've spent more time on this, like I said before, than any other abatement, because of the magnitude of it. I've been, the last 3 months, I've reviewed all the condo projects in town with all the developers. I've reviewed Dowling Village and many of the major commercial properties in town. I'm doing that because if we want to ensure that the tax base is accurate, that's the kind of legwork that it's going to take. So I can assure you that I'm doing everything physically possible to verify these values and to make them as accurate as possible. If you go back to several council meetings, when I said there were 5 appeals that were left that I was working on, there were relatively 4 small appeals, and there was this appeal. The reason I didn't say anything about this at the time, and I got accused of trying to avoid avoiding the question, was that I was in negotiations with this taxpayer and his attorney. and I couldn't comment in public session on it. That was, as you probably remember back, that was prior to the election. So it's taken this long. We've spent a lot of time on it. I can assure you that I'm comfortable with the values. I wouldn't ask you for your approval if I wasn't. I know it's hard, but it's the right thing to do.
I want to make this statement publicly. Mr. Dolce, I'm not questioning your expertise. It looks like you're trying to solve something. And I won't put you on the hook for the next one saying, is it bigger than a bread box? I think that was a comment that was made to you from the previous council member. This, now you said there was 4 or 5 large ones out there that you're negotiating?
No. Prior to the election, I was asked how many more abatements were coming down the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I stated that I had approximately 5. There were 4 relatively small ones, the 4 small ones you've already seen come through.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this was the last of the big ones that I know of. I'm not making any predictions that I've gotten everything, but I can assure you that I've reviewed a lot of properties. I wanted to put the council at ease that I think I got my fingers crossed, I think we're pretty much through this thing at this point, so.
Thank you. Mr. Dolce, like I said, believe me, I'm not happy with this by any stretch of the imagination, but nonetheless, I always believe you do the right thing, and if this needs to be corrected, we have to correct it, but it just mind-boggling how something could go from $800,000 up to $5 million. I mean, and no one picked up on it. Previous to that, when complaints were brought to the office, and that they fell on deaf ears, that doesn't speak well for our community, and I'm quite disturbed by it.
Well, I can tell you, Mr. President, that's not going to happen moving forward, not with Mr. Dolce in charge.
Anyway, there's a motion on the floor to accept this. There is a second. Is there any more discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Mr. Tomato?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Duchesne?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Dolce, for your expertise.
Mr. President, if I may, I wanted to, I know Councilor Alter isn't here tonight, but there was an item on the agenda. If I could just, if you'd allow me to just brief you on this quickly. I know Mr. St. Germain, I told Mr. St. Germain would be on the council tonight, on the agenda tonight, and he's been here waiting. And he's assured me he'd be brief. So,
I think you need a motion then to extend the time of the council.
Yeah, it's 9:57. Mr. President, I'll make a motion to extend the council meeting to 10:30.
Chair seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Go ahead, Mr.
I think I'm done.
Go ahead, Mr. Dolce.
Oh, okay. Thank you. This is, Mr. Walter has been behind this, and I believe he's getting a ruling from the Ethics Commission. But I was aware of it prior to Mr. Walter bringing it to my attention. It's regarding this tax-free stabilization program that's offered by North Smithfield. There's a certain number of qualifications for it. I believe there's an age qualification, a residency qualification, and then the ordinance goes on to say that if the taxpayer so chooses and qualifies and applies, they'll limit their property tax to 10% of their income. After reviewing the ordinance, really 2 months into my tenure here, is a major flaw in this ordinance. And the major flaw, put simply, is that the ordinance, when I say freeze, it throws both the assessment and the rate on a property when you enter the program. It was started in 2006. The flaw is that the assumption that the ordinance makes is that your property tax assessment and the rate won't go down. And what happened was, with the split rate and the growth, there was a shift in the burden within the town. So I went through the ordinance, I went through each and every applicant. There's 29, and only nine of the applicants actually saved money in this program. The other 21 actually paid more in the tax-freeze program than they would have paid if they hadn't been in the program. And I wanted to bring it to your attention because it's, again, another thing that it bothers me. I mean, it's not right, and I want to correct it. So I brought it to the town administrator's attention, and then to Mr. Alter's. And Mr. Alter is kind of spearheading this. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight to hear what I had to say about it. And I'm not expecting a decision. What I'd like to see is to correct it. I mean, to make it accomplish what it was intended to do, which is to help the elderly stay in their homes, provide them with additional income so that they can maintain a better quality of life. And just so you know, the tax freeze stabilization program, however you want to speak of it, you pay 10% of your income. So if you make $10,000, you pay $1,000 a year, and whatever above and beyond that gets deferred. So there's no fiscal impact for the town. It gets set aside, and when a triggering event happens, a death, a transfer, a remortgage, then it has to be paid back without interest. So pretty good program. I mean, it can help some people. And Mr. St. Germain is he's been kind of bugging me in a good way last couple of months about this. He's one, he'd like to say a few words if he may.
No problem. Mr. St. Germain? I do have just one question first. To our solicitor, isn't there something about state law that this is sort of like the cart before the horse?
Well,
is there a conflict with
I
state law?
actually wrote a memo to Mr. Alter when he did this. When he prepared this for the first meeting of the council back in January 19th, I indicated, Mr. Alter presented this to me, and just so the council is aware, your language in your ordinance is a mirror image of state law. State law says the town may give an elderly exemption under these conditions. And then you passed an ordinance that mirrors state law. So as I indicated to Mr. Alter, he wanted to make some changes. I said the first step's going to be to go amend state law. You can no sooner change the mechanism of this taxation process than you could tomorrow pass an ordinance saying you want to have income tax. I'm making that absurd example. The only authority you have to make taxation or exemptions is specifically the authority given to you by state law. And I'll send out a memo to him, but the state law that's relevant is both 44-321, 44-351 and 44-316.1, which is specifically a special legislation which is entitled North Smithfield. This is state law, not town law. Tax stabilization for persons 65 years age and older. And the language contained in state law is the mirror image of your ordinance.
So we
If that
have
makes any sense, you have to.
So we have to go back to the General Assembly, to have this approved for the town of North Smithfield.
This is called enabling legislation.
Legislation, yes.
So the enabling legislation needs to be amended before you could amend the ordinance. So the concerns we have may be valid, but we need to go upstairs first before you can pass an ordinance. And I made that, I spoke with Mr. Alter about it, sent him a memo, but it just never got on it because of snow events. We had a couple of cancellations. But it's not that you can't do something about it, you got to pass a special bill first. You got to amend your tax stabilization. That makes any sense.
No, thank you. Because I was just going back to the days of General Assemblies, and I know there's something about state law with especially with taxes, because the state's the only one who can, you know, do things versus local communities. Yes, Mr. Dolce, Mr.
Yeah, I thank you for your votes on the items before you concerning my office. Mr. St. Germain is here. He has trouble hearing,
Okay.
so I just wanted to let you know. Okay, and you're all set.
My name is Marcel St. Germain. I live over here, 42 Old Great Road. My property taxes were going up for a long time, and my wages weren't, so I saw this. 11/21/15 in the, 05 rather, in the Valley Breeze, council passes tax freeze for qualified seniors. And a few years later, I was a qualified senior. It says that you said that the seniors sell their homes to young families and often result in adding children to the town school system at an expense that can be $8,000 to $10,000 for each child. And I've got grandkids, and I'm blessed, and it might be a curse for the city, but they're grandkids. It's just, it's an option for me, and I went for it. I might have been a lamb before the tigers, but I went for it. And only a few years later that I realized I was paying more taxes. After you were asked to assess my property, I was paying $100,000 more in taxes than the property you said the property was worth. And so a few years back, I asked, when I got this from the city, and it says your appeal has been denied after reviewing the information you provided. Your current assessment is $169 as shown on the attached property record card. That was that was dated. And then there's but the reality was I was paying taxes on $250. So there was a difference there, and like David mentioned, I was paying more taxes than I would have saved if I didn't try to get a break.
No, I know there's three ways to appeal. You have the basic appeal with the assessor, and there's one that goes, I'm sorry?
The reval.
Yeah, the reval. And then if you get fed up enough, you go to Superior Court.
You know, I think what Mr. St. Germain was saying, he kind of said taxes, but when he entered the freeze stabilization program, his property was valued at $240,000, and I don't know what the rate was. But when we had a reval, his property dropped to $166,000. You know, through 07, 08, 09,
right.
You know, it dropped to 166. So he was frozen at the 240 with the old rate. That's what the freeze did. So he was paying, well, in his case, he's paying $400 to $500 more a year than he would be if he wasn't even in the program. So I just want to make you aware of that. I mean, I don't need to belabor the point here. But.
And if I may say, it was actually that tax stabilization was crafted by myself and Councilor Yazbek with good intention.
Yeah.
So I honestly, to the fellow council members, we have to make people like Mr. St. Germain whole and to get back that money for him. However we have to come up with some way to state enabling to make Mr. St. Germain be able to sleep at night. Because I have to tell you, who would have thunk the values in real estate would have gone down, correct? And maybe, you know, it's nice to be looking at it now. I blame myself. I should have spotted that back then and say, suppose they went down. When's the last time you heard real estate value going down? Buy land, because they ain't making no more.
Right.
So I apologize to you, Mr. St. Germain, but I'm going to endeavor to make you whole and do whatever I can, and hopefully members of this council, because we want you to enjoy your property and stay in your house. The last thing we want to do is put any economical, the intent of this was to remove economic hardships to seniors, and we missed a piece of it. So I apologize to you, sir, but we're going to do our best to get this corrected, and I'm going to let Mr. Dolce and Mr. Pomerlee and Mr. Igliozzi come up with something, and I can't speak for the rest of the council, but we'll certainly try to make that right.
Mr. Ranico?
Thank you.
Trapped on 25 Old River Road. I had a discussion with Ernie over several months about tax deferral, and I approached Ernie to say that it's important to keep our seniors in their homes because it does reduce the burden on the school system. It's a goodwill gesture for the people that have lived in North Smithfield for 40 years. So I approached Ernie to say we should be looking at a tax deferral, not stabilization, but something that would delay the payment of taxes, whether it's $3,000 a year or $4,000 a year. It's almost like the reverse of a tangible depreciation. So you would take if somebody gave you a lot of money like National Grid, and you said, let's spend it wisely, you could say, let's give some of that to our seniors and a tax deferral. We'd have to change the state law, but we would defer that $3,000 or $4,000 in real estate, and when that person sold the house or passed away, we would collect back those back taxes plus the interest, a small amount of interest, reasonable interest, not 12%, but something reasonable like inflation, so that it'd be a reversal of the tangibles. So if I have all this money in tangibles that are depreciating, if I use it wisely and I put some of it into the senior program for tax deferral, in 10 years or 20 years, I'm going to get that money back. So it's going to come back into North Smithfield as a reversal of the tangible as we're depreciating it, so that as National Grid depreciates all those assets over 13 years, that money comes back to North Smithfield 13 years later. So it's a wise investment to think of a plan that you could come up. So I had a lot of discussions with Ernie. He's been talking about 10%. I've been telling him maybe it's easier to change state law if you just look at your adjustable gross income or your taxable income, and just work off something that's easy to work with on a tax form that you can verify very quickly so that our seniors can go into the program and apply for it very easily with a tax form and defer their taxes over a 10 or 15-year program. And I said it makes sense that we would do this for a limited number of seniors, maybe 30 to 50, we would offer it to limit the liability so that the town would be deferring maybe $150,000 a year. And in 15 years, you're going to recover all that money that you deferred like a tangible. So it's a wise investment in spending all your tangibles today. You're deferring that depreciation and you're investing it to get it back. And you're keeping your seniors in their homes so that we keep the school population stable. So we benefit, keeping the seniors in the homes, stabilizing the school system, and then reinvesting the depreciated tangibles. So, I had the discussions with Ernie, and I will continue to have discussions with Ernie on the subject. So it's going to require some work. We're going to have to do some work with the tax assessor, the budget committee, and the attorneys, and maybe we're going to have to change state law.
You have to change state law.
Yeah, and I think it's worth pursuing it. I think it's worth pursuing it, and I think Ernie would really be appreciative if we do move forward and try to say, change the state law. Thank you.
I know for a fact that many of the people I spoke to in my area, as I walked door to door, because I used to be their paper boy when I was a young man, and they're in the 70s and 80s, and they said they're being hard pressed because of the increase in taxation. And to me, it's wrong that these people help make the town, that they're being forced out of the town because they can no longer pay the high taxes. And so that's why it's imperative that we're going to have to sit down with some tax people, and also Mr. Dolce and others, that we can come up with some sort of comprehensive plan that we can move forward through legislation to the state, so we can amend the current statute, and that we can put this in its place. But it's going to take a while, especially due to the fact that the General Assembly, I think the last days for legislation is coming up to a close.
It is, but they make an exception for municipal bills.
So but still for us to come up with something comprehensive in a short window would be most difficult, to say the least, at best. So hopefully in the future that we can do this for all our seniors, and it's the right thing to do.
Mr. President, we have a number of things still on our agenda. Is there something we're basically at 10:14 and 11:16?
Yes, sir. Yes,
to entertain.
Just one thing on item E, I'd like to bring that. That's it for, quickly for discussion. Discussion by common board other action on stipends and other expenses for newly appointed school committee members. What is that? Mr. Connolly?
We put that on the agenda without fully knowing what the school's position is. Subsequent to that getting on the agenda, the school has agreed to take care of all of the costs, the nameplates, the everything. I don't have an email, but I can get you an email that says that they're willing to do so.
Well, I hope they also can pay their stipends as well, because they are school committee members and they're serving on the school committee.
I couldn't believe it.
So,
When I received the email, I had to ask her what the protocol behind that was. The first thought was, let's put it to you guys to see what you guys think about it. And in the meantime, I received an email. I said, don't worry, we'll handle everything.
because the letter I have seen is from the business manager, and why wasn't that from the council? I mean, the school committee, rather. That should have came from the school committee, not the business manager.
Two people from the school committee were CC'd on the email, so they knew that was coming over to me.
Do you
From the
recall the
business.
names that were CC'd? Was that,
I know one was Bill O'Connell, that's the only one I
Oh, okay.
remember, but I can get the
Should be.
email printed so
Okay.
you can see it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be an issue for me.
I'm just happy they realized it was their expense.
So,
Yeah.
after all, it was the wishes of the taxpayers
Yeah.
to have these two people placed on the school
I
committee.
believe once we mentioned that it would go to you guys is when they changed their course of action, just so you know.
Waste of resources, to even entertain this thought. But anyway, thank you for taking care of
So
this.
do we have to vote on this?
That was a discussion.
Okay, no, it says when the vote or other action. And I think the other action is just to tell them the school committee pays, nothing more.
Well, they've already agreed to that, which I can provide in the email, so no questions asked.
Thank them for us, will you?
Thank you for the largesse sitting on $800,000.
Mr. President,
Yes.
could I get a second alternate for the planning board, please? It's 11 old business, 3, planning board second alternate. It's not a one-year term anymore, it's 9 months. Judge Williams is coming before the planning board on March 5th to discuss the conditional settlement. And it's really important that everybody there to understand what's going on. We have one member who has to recuse himself in the upcoming Rankin Estates. I don't want to be in a position where we're forced from a majority to a supermajority of the vote. See, you have two qualified people. I did have a third, but he left because the rules changed so often. But it is important. And I would be happy for either one of the people. David Punchat or Angel Puglisi. Those are the two over there.
Mr. Punchak, your appointment to the bond review committee, is that?
Yes. Okay. I will nominate David Punchak to planning board second alternate.
Second.
Discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Salves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes?
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Thank you.
Just paying the bills we have to get through.
Oh, yes.
We got some stuff we have to do. We got to get motor here.
That's actually on agenda.
My appointment to
Let's see all the things on the consent agenda first.
Mr. President, if I may, I've read the minutes from the previous council meetings. I'm comfortable with that. if we could just have some discussion, we can approve it, excuse me, unless anybody else has something they want to remove from the consent agenda. I don't. I would just like to have a statement of payment of bills, the normal, what we always ask. Madam Administrator, have you read this payment of bills? Yes, and you approve? And now we have Mr. Palmer. Mr. Palmer, you looked at it, everything is in order. There's some things in here that shouldn't be popping up, and everything's in order, yeah?
Nothing was out of line from what I could see. There were POs that were approved prior to me.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that because it was done before me. Anything that's got my signature on it, I believe is a true reasonable expense. I do have explanations here. If you do have questions about specific ones, I tried to go through to make sure that I am up to speed for answers right here for you guys' questions.
I'm comfortable with your professionalism. I'm also comfortable with the town administrator saying that she approves this, so that's all I wanted to discuss, unless somebody else has questions.
Yeah, and I have a couple questions on bills. I just want to confirm the 91,000 for the computers, that was what, the capital purchase, right? And then they're responsible for additional purchases, is that correct?
Yeah, for the school, yes. That was what we agreed to, was through the capital budget was about 90,000.
And then also, Robinson Green and Beret for public buildings review, 7,000.
Yes, that was actually, we went back to the council minutes from last year. It was an approved Phase 1 RGB project. It was done right through the council at the June, I think it was the last meeting in June of 2014. We can provide you with the minutes that show that it was approved for Phase 1.
Just the last one, Nixon Peabody. Are we still using him for, what are we using him for? Is that labor or?
Labor.
Yeah.
It's just one case.
Is this a, I'm sorry, Counselor, are you, it's,
Is it a continuing case that's ongoing?
It's a case that's, yeah, that's going on to Superior Court, I believe.
so our current council, Gus, does not handle it, it's being handled by,
Not this one, right, because he started with it
Yeah.
and
okay.
And now going forward, will Mr. Iglesias, will you be handling any labor issues?
Yeah, I'll handle the labor issues, unless if I have a problem, I'll bring it to the council's attention. And I certainly would ask you to, if I have a problem, otherwise I'll,
That's all I have, thank you.
let's do that.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve under 8A, B, C, subsection 1, so this is all the minutes of the towns, commissions, and boards, and the communications D, I'm making a motion to accept all those, and plus we've already had the payment of bills, we discussed that.
Second.
Any discussion? Not hearing so. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
So, Mr. President, if I may, under the agenda, under section 11, old business, we did address the planning board's concern with the appointment that we made, and the town administrator has appointed Mr. Laporte to the Historical Commission. At this point, I don't have any other nominations, so we'll just continue those. Is that okay?
Just to correct,
Oh, what do we got?
Mr. Lepore was appointed to juvenile hearing, not historic.
Oh, forgive me, juvenile hearing board, thank you. It's the town administrator's appointment. So we talked about tax stabilization, we're gonna look at state enabling, Mr. Galiosi, the tax assessor, and the finance director, gonna look at that. New business, Mr. President? Anything here pressing?
The A, I need authorization to sign contract with the hazardous mitigation. I can't think of the name. McGuire, Stephen McGuire. Thank you very much. Just what, we've had a similar contact with them last year, and what they do is during times of distress to the state, as we have this past blizzard, they help us.
Coordinate our submission.
Well, I just want to say that the reason you use CDR McGuire or someone like them is that they know all the FEMA rules. They have it on computer. And the local FEMA people are typically volunteer, are part-time workers. They don't know the rules. And by using them last time, you probably got twice as much money from FEMA as you would if you did it yourself.
This was dealing with the vast
Storm
snowstorms that we've
related
had, yes,
issues,
okay.
correct, and if the state reaches the critical mass, then we can get some reimbursement.
So we have an attachment made of their hourly rates for their services, right? Okay. Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve the agreement for emergency planning, disaster recovery, hazardous mitigation, grant program services, authorizing the town administrator to sign.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Nato. Any discussion? Not hearing, so roll call, vote, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Oh, I do have one item here, I kind of forgot about. It's up under old business. It's an ordinance dealing with the production of records.
What old business, which one is it, Mr. President?
It was the ordinance dealing with it, have their quarterly, all the town departments, I'll be reading it. It's ordinance section 6.8, production of records. It says all records that are requested by the budget committee shall be provided in all electronic spreadsheet format or the format that is deemed appropriate by the budget committee. This is, I guess, would be the first reading of this ordinance. The reason why is that we've had issues in the past with some departments that want to give you PDF files that have to be translated, reconstructed, and to me, this is counterproductive, so I chose to make it mandatory that all departments do this. Like if you can't get people to go along with you, then you legislate. And we're going to legislate by ordinance. So I'm a proponent of this ordinance.
So is that the motion to consider this the first reading?
Yes, it is.
I second that.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes. Need this, Madam Clerk? Anything else that's,
Back into old business.
okay?
I need to make my appointments to the Public Building Improvement Committee as we're going to have a kickoff meeting next week. I nominate Doug Allen. I just take them all at once, because I think I'm the only one with nominations.
Doug Allen?
Allen,
Big Allen.
A-L-L-A-M,
Yes.
is,
Is it an engineer, right?
yes.
Right. I've seen his resume.
Christine Bonus was given to me by the school committee, and that's part of the ordinance. She will fill a dual role of school committee and school task force, but only giving her one vote. I am also nominating Art Bassett, who, instead of serving as school committee, he will serve as a resident. Those are my nominations for the Public Buildings Improvement Committee.
I second the nominations. Mrs. Nato?
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves?
Yes.
Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. President, the other item, if we are going to get anything done, is the waste haulers equipment. That would be I, under new business. It's just to give me permission to enter into an agreement. They purchased a new
Is that
company
coastal?
we had before.
Is that coastal, I think it was?
No,
Waste haulers.
Coastal is
waste
by
management.
waste haulers, was called out by this name.
Right, waste haulers was the previous. I'm so cold, can I tell you that Bank Street. And I, for the record, would like to get another building to meet, this is ridiculous.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah, it's for the scholars.
We'll take that right after this.
Well, anyway, apologize. I just need permission to authorize me to get into this agreement with the new company. Just need to sign it, please.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to continue our meeting to 10:45.
Second.
Seconded.
Okay. Question, Madam Administrator, when you're speaking with the new potential waste management of Rhode Island Incorporated, what are we looking at for any change in service or fees?
Nothing, the contract though is up for renewal in June.
Okay.
And we do have an option of going forward with them, but we are now past the 3 years that we had, so we can go to a 6-year assignment.
Okay.
And we don't,
We anticipate going out to bid for that service, based on the review of what their costs are in other communities.
we're anticipating.
We're anticipating an increase from them,
We're not sure.
so we just assume based on what we see in other communities that that's going to be an item on your agenda for a bid.
So in essence, what are you looking for, Madam Administrator?
Just to enter into the agreement with this new company.
Till June.
Told you.
So moved.
Roll call vote.
Ms. Alves?
Yes.
Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Swansky?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
I didn't know if you were looking at the dates.
Mr. President, if I may direct a question to the Administrator. Discussion by council vote or action on wind projects, wind energy development. This is very important to this town because we're looking to repay DEM bond money, is that correct? And we were going to go into a lease, and this money was going to pay for that open space that we purchased. Anything you wish to...
I'll have the planner because this is a different wind project.
This is Mark Pasquale back again. Except now he has, I know the look. Except now he has a backing of a Ventus turbines in Germany. They're also Goldwing in China. They're the ones that put the turbines in Narragansett Bay Commission property. And he wants to put one on Chico's farm, and he wants to put one on top of the hill. He's offering $54,000 per year lease to both parties. That's a standard offer. Problem is he's tied up with interconnection disputes, cost of interconnection with the national grid, so we can reschedule him.
Has the other proposed wind, you said the Pacheco farm, does that come before planning?
No,
No.
no, this is just in the early discussion stage.
Oh, so,
He's going to go for a distributed generation contract in the fall.
so do we need any action tonight on
No.
this? No. Okay.
How about 12C, the Mark shared bike route? This is the beginning of our national park.
You want to brief us on that, Mr. Harrison?
Yeah, it's-
Delineating roads and ways and...
Yeah, what they want to do is make a connection from the boatway in Reservoir through the national park and up to the new Greenway area in Massachusetts. 8C, the section 8C that goes through Meadows Park is not scheduled for a while, but this will be an on-road. Senator Whitehouse is very big on this. It also matches on our town bike map, an approved route. In other words, we took the routes that the state had approved, so we wouldn't have independent liability, and this happens to be the same place. They would provide all the signage consistent with the Blackstone Valley corridor. And Ray, in the spring of 2016, would actually install the signs with Pendergast for DPW. And there's a clause at the end, if it's not deemed appropriate because Public Works maybe lost all its people or something, then we wouldn't get done.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution to designate an appropriately marked shared bike route,
Second.
passing through, well, it's it. Yeah, it's fine.
Second by Councilwoman Nato. Discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. NATO?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
You want just, Mr.
Oh,
President? if I may?
Scout, let's take the one about Scout us all.
Yep.
The chair moves that we move our meetings to Scout us all due to the warmth of this building.
Lack of.
This council seconds that motion?
May I?
No.
Discussion?
Go ahead.
We had a discussion this morning, when Jason and I met with Mr. Pendergast for DPW, going over the costs and whatnot, and Scout us all came up. And his intention is that it would be a viable alternative to use due to parking, primarily when there are ball games, when, there are scouts, when there are things happening, there's limited parking, just mentioned, whatever. Then we all discussed that maybe we should ask the school department to use another building,
To what?
to utilize another building other than this one. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's to the point of absurdity now.
I agree.
And, I think when it gets to the point where you all have to put your coats on during the meeting, and I can't feel my feet.
Yeah.
Short of that, I think maybe we should take some action. I would have preferred Scouters if it was a quick, easy fix and hurry up and just move over there for the next meeting. But I do believe, maybe on a temporary basis until we can work it out, but we do have bookings for Scouts almost really every single night. Every single night.
So
There's like 400 or 500 kids in and out of that building during the course of the week.
So our first and third of the month Mondays, is that venue available?
It may not be, and that's what we were talking about this morning. That issue of parking, et cetera, probably isn't a viable alternative. But another school building might compete.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the whole bond was approved for the middle school, regardless of the security issue. I've always had a problem with that. Quite honestly, if they cannot, if the school committee, maybe we should present it to them if they would grant trust. Now, I know we have to monitor the building, people coming in and out of the building, maybe we can close a wing, fire it, but we've got to get into that.
Yeah.
That building was approved for access for meetings.
Right, and I think with that building, you might be better off because I believe they have a second shift on for janitorial services. So there would be someone in there till 10 o'clock. You may have to make your meetings end before 10 o'clock.
Well, if we're not numb from the cold, I think we could
You might
proceed
be
much
able to.
quicker in our meetings, yeah.
And we need to come up with a final solution that,
Okay, so what are we doing?
the thing is, I guess it's,
Well, let's start with, hold on a second. I think I can work through this one. I just have to find it on the agenda.
so Scout us all is not an option.
G.
New business H. Let's forget G for now and do H.
We'll have into this discussion on G. We're gonna come to a
Well,
close?
if we can't do it at Scouters and we need to speak to the schools, maybe we should have a liaison for the school from the town council to do that.
Who would
So
that
I'd like to
liaison?
appoint Mrs. Nader.
Oh, is this where this was going?
That's where that was
Oh,
going.
okay, I second. Well, it's not, I mean, I see it happening now.
Yeah.
Okay, first, we have a motion and a second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk?
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. NATO?
Yes.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. President, following up on H, discussion of council vote or other action on liaisons to department and boards, commission. This is Mrs. Alves. Is this cover everything? Is
I
it-
would like to nominate, unless you were,
I don't know. Ms. Allen, would you be interested, you're with the budget committee, how about the finance department? Would you want to be the liaison
Sure,
to both of them?
sure.
I'll make that motion.
Chase seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Ms. Alves?
Yes.
Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Zelinski? Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
F and J.
Discussion by council, vote or other action on creation of a zoning board of review. Mr. Zelinski.
Mr. President, basically, we have zoning ordinances in place. I've been approached by a few people in town that have some desire to work as a committee to review the zoning, maybe make them more friendly, make them more protective. But when we're doing this, I would just like to recommend that we have hopefully a member of the zoning board, a member of the planning board, a member of the historic commission, a member of the, every member we have, every organization should have a member, and then some private citizens as well. The number, I don't think it should be too cumbersome, maybe 7 to 9. You would have people to come, it would just be an opinionary board to look at zoning ordinance. Like tonight, we heard somebody talk about a noise ordinance. Who was it? Oh, Mrs. Silver. Maybe we'll contact Mrs. Silver, but Madam Administrator, if this gets approved by the council members here, would you be kind enough to contact the Valley Breeze and say that the North Smithfield's looking to create a zoning review board? Is any members of the departments would like to join?
The name gets me nervous.
Okay.
I think it should be an ad hoc committee, right? to
Yeah,
review
it's
zoning
not
law.
perpetuity, it's ad hoc, it's for short duration.
Right. You don't want to confuse it with, because you have a zoning review board.
Okay, so zoning what?
I think it's an
Right.
ad hoc
Zoning
committee.
ordinance review?
Yeah, I would think that people don't get confused. An ad hoc committee to study ordinances and review and study ordinances to make recommendation to the council.
If required to change the zones. Yeah, zoning ordinance, yeah.
To make recommendations to the
Right, yes,
council. So
absolutely.
they'll have a mission statement. I think when you ultimately do that, you would want to actually send them off with a mission statement.
Yep.
It says, this is what we're expecting you to do, in some reasonable time period, and then come back to the council with a report. So there's no confusion. And if you want to keep it going, that's a different question, but you don't just want to kind of bang it out there. You want them to go out and perform some function and come back in a period of time.
The last time, Mr. Erickson could say, last time we did this, we went through the use table, we went through a lot of things. But my concern is that we have, boards have representation as well as.
The ad hoc committee can be made up of whatever the council wants, but just give them a specific charge, you know, and give them a responsibility to make recommendations to the council. Pick a period, pick a period of time,
Okay,
you know.
let's go for 1 year to start. Mr. President, would you recognize Mr. Erickson?
I'm sorry, sir.
Mr. President, we went through the ORC, the ODC for ordinances, and it had its ups and downs. My preference, my suggestion would be to have a subcommittee of the town council itself called the ordinance subcommittee. You do it in Lincoln and a number of other towns. And then bring in people that you need for specific projects. Some of them will be self-generating. For example, CJ has done some really good work that you'll be seeing in a couple of meetings on making the ordinances easier to administer. I really like what he's done. The planning board has reviewed it. It's ready to come in. Last year, when nobody knew how to abandon right away or sell land, I did it because there's only one. Just take the best available town and do it. And then the planning board has its own set of projects, which included, for example, the siting of solar farms. And they did a great job. They adapted Boylevilles. So everybody is coming from a different location. If you have interested people, I think they could be a separate ad hoc group that meets with the ordinance subcommittee. But it's important to everybody who participates that the town council have skin in the game. And that's why the subcommittee, ordinance subcommittee itself is, I think, much more valuable to the town, because you're really in charge. I mean, last time, you know the tension.
Oh, I was the chairperson of that board.
Right, right. But you
I
know the
do know
tension between,
but the composition of this council has changed tremendously.
no, I understand, but you know the tension between the board and, but I just think institutionally, you're much better off with an ordinance subcommittee of the town council. That gives you continuity.
I'm not really concerned what we call it, as long as it happens and it's done correctly with boards and involvement. As the zoning and planning liaison, which I was appointed to in the previous meeting, I don't have a problem championing that, but I also want everyone to understand that this council is already stretched with, we have our meetings, we have everything else, we're serving on bond review, we're serving on finance and everything else, so, yeah, they will probably organize and appoint a chairperson of it as an ad hoc. I don't want to be the chairperson of that. I want to be called in when they need me to come in. I will attend the meetings, but I just think that this is something I will certainly be the liaison and bring back the information. Mr. Erickson, we may call on you for your expertise for administrative as well as the new zoning official. We may be looking for that. I don't know if it's going to impact taxing and financing so much, but we're going to work through it like we did the last time.
You could have 2 members of the town council. Only one needs to be active to meet with the people.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to do that. I don't, we're putting layers of.
Well, I'm just trying to share a model that other towns use, and use successfully.
But, Mr. Erickson, I just think that it's getting, I would like to keep it simple and to have, I'll act as the liaison and show up to most of the meetings like I did the last time. My attendance was pretty exemplary at those meetings, so. But if a fellow council member wants to sit down and work with it, I'm okay with that too. It's an ad hoc, anybody can show up. I'm an administrator, you can show up any night you want.
I'm just
Sit down
trying
with
to think how I'm going to get the other members of different boards to join, when we've already got meetings. That's my, I'm just
Well, I know.
trying to get through my head.
Well, that's why, I don't have a problem. The offer is there,
Right.
if they wish to show up. But I think if we put something in the ballot agrees that we're looking for citizen participation, we'll get some good folks in town. Matter of fact, I don't even want to say the names of the people that approached me. This is where this was germinated from, was people coming to me and I said, oh, okay, let's do that. So, we're at that point. We have legal expertise that wishes to participate in this. We have, yeah, that's enough. Let's just get the applications in and take a look at the reference, or what do you call them, resumes. We did everything else. Ebony, it's time to go home, folks.
One last thing.
Oh, I can't even speak anymore.
Covered by the Historical Commission District, 3-year term expires 12/1/2017. I'd like to nominate Keith Nato.
I'm standing from the vote as Keith Nato is my husband.
That's good you're abstaining, but it's good that he's, there's really no, abstaining, but I shouldn't be
Which
second.
term did you nominate for the set, A or B?
It's the 3-year term expires 12/1/17. It's the Historical District Commission.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you wanted the sewer commission.
No.
It's old business.
One.
I think you're gonna need another vote to extend the meeting.
Oh, 5 minutes, my God. Make a motion to extend to 10:53. That's it.
Chair seconds.
Okay. So we had a nomination by the president. I second that, Mr. Nato.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato? Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Madam Administrator, hey, how you doing over there, camera one? Camera person, you have on the agenda discussion by council voter action on regional dispatch study. You're up. Sorry, Mr. President. Forgive me for all this. Door opens up.
Actually, yes, I'll just make this very quick. I was speaking with Mayor Lombardi on Friday, and he called and wanted to know if North Smithfield would be willing to set aside $5,000 for a study that's being done with communities. There would be 8 other communities involved in northern Rhode Island for the dispatch, consolidated dispatch, fire, and police dispatch. So there are other communities that are larger than us that are coming up with $5,000. He does not think we'll need the $5,000, but just to get a commitment. That is one of the things that is going to be initiated very shortly. The governor just signed an executive order to have the lieutenant governor assist cities and towns in facilitating all these consolidations, and that's going to be the first one. So that study is not complete, and he wanted to know if that would be something that council wanted to do.
Mr. President, contingency funding, we have 5,000?
Yes, we do. We've been told.
Yes.
Currently we do.
Currently, so,
Well, who knows what's contingent between now and June 30th?
I know, so
You
if
guys
we
know.
allocate this 5, it's used.
Right now, there is, I believe, 5,000 out of the whole budget is used so far only.
Oh, okay, so.
Very minimal is being used so
And
far.
what was it, 125,000?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
So there's quite a bit in there at the moment.
Yeah, but don't talk too loud.
Yeah, I know.
Okay,
I'm not gonna listen, I'm not gonna listen.
So it's up to 5,000 and maybe.
Up to,
Okay.
if needed at all. It's just
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to allocate out of contingency funding up to $5,000 from the town of North Smithfield for action on regional dispatch study.
Chair seconds. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato? Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zaneski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Mr. President, make a motion to adjourn.
Chair seconds.
he's coming up.
Oh, hang on, I want to withdraw my motion to adjourn, Mr. President. Councilor Nato just pointed out, did we actually take a vote, thank you, Councilor Nato, under new business F, discussion by council vote or other action, creation of a zoning ordinance review committee, which will be an ad hoc committee comprised of members of commissions that wish to participate and the general public.
No.
So that's the motion.
Okay, chair seconds.
Is that your motion?
Yeah. Tis. Thank you, Rosie.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mrs. Nato?
Yes.
Mr. Zaneski?
Yes.
Mr. Boucher?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
I didn't hear, okay.
Larry, report.
Yeah.